the drop rates. The drop rates. Let's get into the drop rates, y'all, because I know there's a lot of things behind this. I know there's a lot of thoughts behind it. So we're going to express our thoughts. Let me just go ahead and ask it. Bedtime Buddy, how are the drop rates?
The drop rates were abysmal. They were the most limiting factor in the entire beta, for sure. And they are a extreme level concern for the success of the game going forward. I think I heard Fextra Life articulate his concern about this as well, that if the drops are too rare in the early game, then players may not make it to the mid to late game. And I understand that some series veterans, some ARPG veterans as well, are willing to sacrifice these casual players to this purpose. But I don't think it's in their best of interest either, because they risk losing, future community leaders, future content creators, future people to help keep the servers alive, and so on and so forth. Now, not to say that the legendary should be raining from the skies. People like to say that's the phrase they like to use. But I would like to offer some logic to this that people haven't been articulating, because groupthink, and we all like to follow our favorite creator, and what they say is king. So allow your boy BTB to articulate this for you nice and comfortably. You know what I'm saying? So let's imagine you find a legendary weapon or a legendary aspect early game, level 5, legendary, right? So the argument for keeping it at an extremely high rarity is that it will always feel special, right? It'll always feel special when you get a legendary. If the more rare it is, the more special it'll feel when you get it. Okay. So this game has a very minimal skill tree, right? So as you level up and you're getting your skill points, you're not going to expand your character a significant amount, or your gameplay style is not going to expand a significant amount as you're going through your skill tree, because it's a very simple skill tree. There's not a lot of intricacies there, right? The most things that you can do to truly augment your gameplay is use a legendary aspect that will take your, for example, penetrating arrow and make it spread into a grid all the way across the board, or something to that extent. We all know this because in the first beta, we went crazy and we had aspects like crazy, and we were able to test all kinds of things. Now, if during your initial leveling experience, you get to try out numerous things, right? You get to try out numerous things, so you have a good feel for, by the time you get your Paragon board, you're able to have a general idea of what direction you want to take your character in, as opposed to just looking on YouTube and being like, oh, Rax said that poison is the best rogue, so I'm just going to do poison, and I need to get this node and this node and this node. That's not the philosophy of the game, right? All the devs talk about is your game, your way. We Burger King out here, you know what I'm saying? Like, have it, you know what I'm saying? So how is that? How are we determining how we, we can't even really plan our y'all know what I'm saying, man. So go back to what I was originally saying. You find the legendary aspect in your early levels, and
Right.
just because you found the legendary aspect in your early levels does not mean it's going to be a max roll, high roll, mid roll. It's going to be a range, right? So if you find the legendary aspect at an early level and it's a low roll or slightly above the codex, however you want to put it, it's a low roll. You might feel more inclined to go ahead and try it out on a low level weapon, with the understanding that it's going to be outclassed pretty soon. So you actually have to choose. If you found it at level 5, you might not want to pull it off and put it on something until you're at like level 25, or whenever you start to feel like the experience starts to throttle a little bit, right? Unless you actually legitimately just want to test it. If it's a high roll, you might want to hold it for the rest of the game until you get to wherever endpoint you're going to have. If you're going to stop at level 100, you might want to take that max roll that you got at level 5 and hoard that all the way until the end game, right? Because even if you
Right.
found the same aspect, it might not be a max roll, right? So the true rarity is in the range of power, and the true fun to be had with these abilities is in testing and trial and error, and putting them on different weapons and
Mhm.
seeing if you like different. You might be thinking I'm a bleed barb, and then you get the whirlwind is kicking up dust devils all over the place. Everything dies, and you're like, oh crap, I'm actually a whirlwind barb. But you don't
Yeah.
know unless someone tells you, if it's so rare that you can't get it, and the only way you can experience it is by watching someone, I don't know, like Rax, who plays 42 hours and 48 hours. That's the only way you can experience it, because you only have 15 hours over the course of a week to try to farm, or whatever the case. You might not even use that 15 hours to farm. You might use that 15 hours to do some story, or maybe you might run a couple dungeons with your homies. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might not even. So I think that players are underestimating the importance of a newer player um being able to experience the customization and everything that the legendaries bring. Not to mention, as my girlfriend was so articulately explained to me earlier, that there's these unique weapons that come into play at the end game. So that that sword that carried you from level 75 to level 100 may not be the sword that you use at the end, because you're going to prefer a unique, or maybe a helmet, or whatever the case, right? It's going to cause you to reconfigure your build. This constant reconfiguring of the build, this constant reevaluating of how you want to play your game, changing your skill tree, changing your paragon board. Well, actually, let me not get away from the word changing, because we already know about the money and all that stuff. So instead of saying changing, we're going to say planning your paragon board. So if you can establish from level 1 through 50 that you're going to be I don't know, a ice mage, then by the time you unlock the paragon board, you know that you can already kind of favor going towards ice. And then when you reach the end game, then you're getting more end game favoring abilities,
Mhm.
so that you can experience another experience. So in the early game, you're testing things. In the mid game, you're solidifying and you're picking your path. In the late game, you're maximizing and optimizing. And then the season ends, and then you do it all over again. So I think that it's more harmful if it's too rare for people to find legendaries that they can experiment with and play with and and optimize their gameplay experience with in the early game, and expect them to just kind of tank it, having to deal with resource limitations, not being able to kill certain bosses, having to worry about people cursing you out because you didn't do enough DPS, having to worry about people telling you that you shouldn't be a part of a run because you're slightly under leveled, having to worry about not getting the dopamine rush of seeing that beautiful brown glow that looks and sounds super awesome. Um, all of these things I think are very important, and people are underestimating. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. At the end of the day, people, your favorite creators that have so much time to like really sit down and grind and all that, are gonna find ways to farm regardless of the drop rate. And it's gonna be up to them to tell you if they have a method or not. So they're going to be better than you. So the same creator that's telling you that this doesn't matter, they're going to be better than you because they're going to have methods to be able to farm anyway. And they may or may not tell you. If Rax didn't make that video and tell people that you could flip corpses at Core Dragon to get legendaries, I would reckon, and granted, there's no measure of 2020 hindsight that could prove this or disprove this, but I reckon that less than half, or I reckon that more than half of the people that cleared the Shava wouldn't have cleared the Shava. Now, you may be thinking when you hear that, well, I didn't do the farm and I still cleared the Shava, but there may have been 6 people on your team that did do the farm, so they did have the power to be able to clear a Shava. So they helped you clear a
Yeah.
Shava because they did it and you didn't do it. So your anecdotal I didn't do it and I was still able to clear is, I don't want to say irrelevant. I don't want to dismiss you. You may have done some oboe farming for a hot minute, like Amethyst did, and
Yeah. I
and
did
still
nothing
and
but
still
oboe farming.
yeah, and still managed to become pretty powerful. But I wasn't with that. My homie told me about that video. I shoom right over to that John Core Dragon flipping corpses, got strong, and we next thing you know, we're clearing a Shava and helping people clear a Shava. So Like, you know, and I'll tell you too, when I was out there, because she was sleeping the following morning, and I helped clear ashava like 3 times, like 3 runs in the 15 minutes. So I'm helping people clear. And they were so happy. You're like, let me tell you, the people were so happy. I just will go in and we murk ashava, and then they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. This is so great. I didn't think I'd be able to clear it. We failed 4 times, all this stuff. It shouldn't be that stressful, man. Like, I
Well,
get it. They're like, people feel like as you get to higher levels, you're gonna find more legendaries and all this stuff. Blizzard ain't tell us none of that. We just going off of legacy knowledge and thinking as we get to higher levels, more legendaries are gonna fall. It sounds logical at the end of the day, but we don't know. Blizzard hasn't stepped in and said anything. So we're just assuming, we're taking what we know, and which is that the legendary drop rate is trashed from 1 to 20. And we're assuming that it's gonna get better from 20 to 50, or from, you know, from 50 to 100 or whatever. And we're also assuming that that player is gonna stick with the game from that point on. When we know that a lot of players play a game for 2 hours and they're like, man, fuck this game, man. So
yeah. Like there were a lot of people who, like, I think there were people who even they left the Shava fight, and like when they found it was too hard, and they went to Reddit immediately to to talk about their experience. And like, look, 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 and I'm sorry, BTV, but it's not going to hurt the game. Like, I get it, and this seems to be one of those things where people are worried about if the drop rate for legendaries is too high, it's going to diminish the difficulty of the game. No. Listen, you want to get people hooked into this. Let's be fair. People got hooked into it the previous beta because they were able to experiment with the things that were dropping, because I've heard everything about the drop rate being up 60% to 200% to 300%, whatever the percentage is, whatever that was, that got people hooked. Like, that was enough to get people hooked to believe that they can create their fantasy. So now, like, you get into this beta, people are experiencing like the real drop rates, the reality, and you know, it's making people even second guess if they want to play the game. You don't want that, especially for this game. You don't want your I'm gonna just say it. You don't want your hardcore people to be a-okay with something, and then the casual crowd or the more casual crowd that is not as hardcore to just absolutely not like it. Because realistically, that's how games die, or that's how games don't do well. Like, the hardcore portion of a game is such a much smaller percentage than the casual portion. You have to appeal to the larger majority. You have to. But with there being other difficulties, there is a way to appeal to both. I just feel like, hey, like whatever the drop percentage is, I'm just gonna throw a number out there. Like, if the previous beta, the drop percentage was like 80%, and now the drop percentage is like 10%, I don't think it's gonna hurt to maybe have the drop percentage up by like another 10%. So overall, the legendary drop rate is like 20%. Just a little bit more. It's not gonna hurt, y'all. It's not gonna hurt. Like, everyone doesn't have the amount of time. Like, let's break it down a little further. Casual does not mean bad. It doesn't mean bad. It should not be coined that way, because realistically, the people who have been playing this game a long time, and maybe the people that you might have known, oh, this person was legendary, they're doing amazing. Maybe they aren't full-time content creators. Maybe now they have like a wife, 6 kids, like, and they just can't do it. They just don't have the time. Maybe they only get like 2 hours a week to be that amazing player that they used to be back in the day in Diablo 4. But they just don't have the time, you know? Like, they just don't have the time. So I don't really see it hurting the community overall to have the drop rate up just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Like, come on, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. It really, really isn't. And like, don't come at me. Do not come at me with the whole, oh, well, you're just one of those that, no, 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 no. Don't start any type of narrative like that either. I have grinded. Like I said in the very beginning, I've played MMOs, I've played Korean MMOs, I've like figured out ways to beat friggin' bosses in Final Fantasy with no guides, like way back in the day. Like, no, 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 no. I'm talking about Final Fantasy 14 because I know a lot of y'all couldn't clear Titan. Let's be fair. And I was teaching people how to do it that were so appreciative when it finally got down. But I would spend hours with those people. Like, don't even. Like, if I say that I want something done in a game, it's going to get done. Like the friggin' PSO2 NGS drop rates, like I grinded so much to get what I wanted. That's a grind fest. If you know, you know. I had a rugged. Like I usually had things first. That's because of the grind. So don't come at me with the whole, oh, you're not willing to put in the time or whatnot. Some people just don't got the time. Some people, like, when they sit down for 8 hours of their Saturday, which might be the only time that they have, they want to at least feel like they're being rewarded a little bit. And you gotta bring people in. So I think a little bit of an increase in the legendary drop rate is not gonna hurt. Go ahead, BTV.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, y'all, I also want to highlight that prior to the server slam, when they had it started making the rounds that the drop rate was boosted and it was going to be significantly less and all the other stuff. I started expressing my concerns about a lot of things that they were announcing, but that took center stage, and I'll explain why in a second. But um, me and Amethyst actually butted heads a little bit because
Oh
she
my God, yes.
she wanted to be a little more open minded about the decreased drop rates, and I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. Like usually, um, I'm pretty good on foresight. I'm usually pretty good on foresight. So like I was really standing on my pad. So we was definitely butting heads about it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we were both gonna play the server slams as we did. And things turned out the way that they did. And it turned out that there was a lot of people that felt the drop rates in accordance to the way that I predicted. You know what I'm saying? So um it is what it is on that. But I think that when I really sit down and I think about it, I think that everything is connected when it comes to the drop rates. And oh yeah, yeah, we already reserved that John big time.
Yeah, we already
I got the
have, we're
deluxe
gonna be
edition.
like pre-release. So June
Yeah,
1st we'll be playing. I'm thinking about maybe doing like a countdown stream because pretty much I'm
yeah,
gonna be off work. We're gonna hit the gym, run the errands, come back, play.
yeah. So yeah, definitely link up with us, J Money, if you're trying, you know what I'm saying? Like have a little squad. But yeah, like or anybody else too, anybody that's watching this on YouTube, whatever, you try and get a little squad, link it up with us. I mean,
Yep.
but anyways, yeah, like what I was saying was, or what I was realizing was that everything is connected. Um, you're somewhat gated on being able to readjust and customize by way of gold. Um, Especially when you get deeper into the build, and I think the Paragon board is going to be expensive to respec as well. Um, you take that, the fact that legendaries are scarce. Um, Damn it, there was more to it. But the reason why I say that everything is connected is that is the seasons. So each season you're going to want to start a brand new character, and not too many of your things are going to carry over into the new character. So it's not that. they want you to reach the end game and then be able to switch and experience all different aspects of your class, so much as they want you to max out some variation of the class and then possibly be interested in rebooting and taking that same class in a different direction. So with legendaries being a little more scarce, it makes it so that you may not find that perfect aspect in your first run, but you might find it next season. And then when you find it next season, now you can either realize the gameplay style that you were trying to like fulfill the first time, or you could just do something totally different with it. But what I think that that does inherently as well is it prevents you from fully fleshing out something unless you just stay in the eternal realm grinding forever, but then you're not going to be able to do the new battle pass. You're not going to be able to get all the rewards and all of that stuff. So I feel like it started to make me wonder if Diablo, if Blizzard like truly believed in their game. Um, because I'm like, if you believe in your game, you let us customize and explore with faith that we're gonna love it so much that we're not gonna leave. In the first beta, I put in about 90 hours. It says something like that in the report. Over 2 weekends, I put in 90 hours. That's insane. And then this beta, we played it a crap ton. Anyway, despite the gripes. And that's another thing. You should be able to love something and still have beef with it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh
if
yeah.
some of y'all got brothers out there or sisters, whatever, sometimes y'all beef or y'all don't talk for a while, but at the end of the day, y'all still sit down at the table, y'all still eat together. You know what I'm saying? Like you can love the game and still have these little things about it that just kind of annoy you. You know what I'm saying? So whether they fix this stuff or not, I'm still gonna be in there playing the game. Granted, my time gonna be split with Street Fighter a little bit, but I'm still gonna be in there playing the game like crazy, pumping in mad hours. So you know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just gotta get my word off. And it should be okay for me and people that think like me to get our word off without being labeled as a casual, because I don't know how many of y'all have been on the stage. How many of y'all have played against Cian on stage in a tournament? You know what I'm saying? How many of y'all have been one of the best players in your city in whatever game? You know what I'm saying? How many of y'all have been on an esports team to call somebody like me a casual? You know what I'm saying? So before y'all even fix your keyboard to call me some type of a casual, because I would like for the legendary drop rate to be bumped up. Think about your own gameplay experience, your own gaming career, and what you've accomplished out there in them gaming streets. You know what I'm saying? With your 200 bazillion hours in Diablo 2 when you was like 12 years old and didn't have a job and didn't have no kids or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, y'all could be gone with that mentality. It should be okay for people that are casual, that don't have as much time or whatever the case is, to be able to get down and have their opinion and have it be respected without being labeled as something that's derogatory by a community leader or otherwise. That's all I got. That's all it is to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, um, me personally, I have no issues like having a difference of opinion and keeping it respectful and keeping it moving. Like, because I understand people are going to have differing opinions, especially in gaming. Like, everyone's going to think, hey, this is best for the game, but not everyone's going to provide constructive feedback to make a game better. And that's what this is. That's what this is about.